Recorded live on the turf at Mad Lab Training Studio in Eldersburg, Maryland. This is the Time to Win podcast with Alex and Dan. Now let's get this podcast started.
So Dan, Mike asked me a question a minute ago. He said, "Hey, Alex, what time is it?" And I mean, I'll ask you. I gave him my answer, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it to you. Hey, Dan, what time is it?
It's time to win, Alex. Where are we going, Alex?
We're going straight to the top,
Straight
baby.
to the top, baby.
Straight to the top.
Straight to the top.
Hey, Dan, who's number one? We are.
We are.
Yeah. All right.
Well, we are the second most popular podcast in the world, I believe. But we're on our way to number one.
Okay, so on that note, then, should we get started?
I believe we should.
Great. Okay, so you know what? Intern Seth has been so busy the last couple of weeks because our viewership is up.
Yes.
Last time I checked, we had I don't know, I don't remember the exact number. It was a couple thousand views on our last episode, right?
I'd imagine so.
And the office, like the mail is rolling in, right? Mm-hmm. And I just thought we should do the special Mailbag Edition today, right?
The Mailbag Edition. I was wondering when we were going to open this up, you know?
So today is Mailbag Edition of Time to Win podcast. And we've got letters here from our listeners. And I'm just going to pull them out. I haven't screened any of these things ahead of time, so I'm just going to pull them out. And
That's dangerous.
Let's just start with the first one.
I love it, though.
All right. I don't even know what's coming.
What is it gonna be?
Okay. So, Dan, Billy Z from Kansas City
Billy Z.
says, he's addressing the question, what hill are you ready to die on?
What hill am I ready to die on? I would say...
Okay, you tuning in on this one, Billy Z, right? What hill? Dan's going to tell us what hill is he ready to die on. This is your question, Billy. Okay, Dan, take it away.
What hill am I willing to die on? That is there's a million. You know, I have multiple hills that I'm going to lose my life to keep, which maybe is an issue.
That makes your existence a little fragile.
A little fragile, but you know what?
Go ahead.
I'm still alive.
Okay, so what hill are you ready to die on, though?
I would say the big one, if in all seriousness, would be if you're not thinking what you can bring to society. To me, your life is a waste at that point.
Yeah.
You're a waste of resources. I think you need to figure out what your strengths are and how you're going to use them to benefit society.
Right.
And I think not enough people do that. Right. And I think that is one of the biggest issues with society.
Okay, so if I could paraphrase that then, you're ready to die on the hill of usefulness, right?
Yes.
Like you must be useful. And I will die on that hill. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what you're hearing.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's awesome. So I'll take it away from here. Then I'll tell you, Billy Z. Here's it's different for me, right? Like I used to have a lot of hills that I was ready to die on,
much like Danny Gilbert over here.
And you know, like once upon a time, I had the hill of tidy, okay. The hill of tidy, and I would go around the house after everybody in the house, and I'd be picking stuff up and putting it away, and I'd be getting more and more agitated. Like, what are these dishes doing in the sink? What are these towels doing on the floor?
That's how my mom was.
Yeah,
actually, yeah.
And it used to drive me nuts, and you know, it drove everyone else in the house nuts too. It was like a constant source of friction.
Yes.
And I read an article one time. It said, hey, you know, when you look at those dishes in the sink, Alex, you should be grateful, right? Because there's people that don't have any dishes, right? There's people that don't even have any sinks. There's people that don't even have any food to get the dishes dirty with. And I thought a lot about that. And it changed my head a little bit. And I decided that I was no longer willing to die on the hill of tidy, right? And I've gone through the different like existential threats, like the hills that might kill me, right. in my life, and I've made it one of my missions to like start eliminating these things. Like I am no longer willing to die on that hill, right? Like the hill of you must put the knives in the second drawer to the left, right?
So that is so that actually brings me to something. One of the biggest hills that I erased from my life would be the hill of vengeance. That's what I would say.
Good call.
Somebody does something, and then I feel like I must dish out justice in some way.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
And that is a terrible, terrible hill to die on. One, it uses up a lot of your energy.
Yeah.
Two, there's a lot of negative impact that can come from all sorts of different ways that way. I love that Bob's here because Bob has literally seen me do this.
Yeah.
As well.
Vengeful Dan.
Yes.
Yeah.
In recent, sometimes justice needs to be dispensed, but it probably does not need to be dispensed by me.
Right. Like, did this used to be on your business card? Like Dan Gilbert, avenging angel.
That's it right there. And it, like, in all sorts of ways, even stuff that happens now with my business. So for example, there's the business around here.
Yeah.
And we're close. We're close with a lot of business around here. So there's one, and then they started working with another fitness facility in the area. Oh. Younger Dan would have been like, why are they doing this?
Right.
But then I thought about it, and I was like, one, I know why the one fitness center is doing that because they must be in some kind of trouble for them to do because I know a lot about what's going over there.
Right.
So that means like they're having their own issues, and that has nothing to do with me. And then two, it just kind of makes sense for if somebody reaches out for a partnership for another business to be like, okay, and that also has nothing to do with me. There's no reason for me to get involved or worry or do any of those things or get upset about it. And I didn't at all. And it ended up being a complete non-issue.
Right.
So,
right.
But I could, younger Dan would have gone after that and been like, why, da-da-da, and then you lose relationships and all sorts of stuff.
I know.
It's stupid.
I know. I told you before, things I'm trying to eliminate from my life. And I may have said this to you before, like, I got to drop the big dick energy, right?
I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
We had a podcast on that.
Did we?
Yeah, I think so, because you were talking about, I think it was the labeling people episode.
Yeah.
And you were talking about in the car, on the roadways, a little bit of road rage. Get rid of that. Yeah.
Like, I mean, it used to be so bad. Like I was willing to die on the hill of green light, red light, right? Like driving up to an intersection.
I have a great story about this, actually.
I'll turn it over to you in a second. But I would be driving up to an intersection and like the karma of the universe was against me. It was like, green light, yes. I'm like 100 yards away, flips to yellow. I'm never going to make it, right? I'm like, oh, man, I'm cussing under my breath. And and my wife is like sitting next to me and getting like really uncomfortable with like, what a dick I am.
Yeah.
And so I decided I'm not going to die on the hill of like catching every light green. I'm just going to like, that's just the way it goes, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to worry about it. So
it makes sense.
I'm not sure what hill I'm actually ready to die on anymore. I'm like you. There used to be a ton of them, but I don't know. Maybe I'm getting soft in my old age, and
I think maybe it's just smarter.
Okay. Yeah.
Because again, like there's some things that just like you just figure out are a waste of your energy.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like I think you just as you get older and hopefully smarter. You start to realize like where your energy is best spent, and like because you've lived, you made mistakes, you find out like the things that you like and like where you're comfortable and like when you should be uncomfortable to grow, when you want to grow, and when you know what I'm saying, like you find out all those things, and that only makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I guess at the end, if you're willing to die on a hill, you might die on that hill.
You might die on the hill,
and then you're just dead, right?
And I've almost died on that.
And the world's not a better place.
Many
right?
hills.
Yeah, I know.
Especially the one I just talked about. I'll tell you a real quick story about driving, and then we'll open up the next letter. So I would get mad at stuff on the road all the time. Bobby knows over there. So this one time I'm in college, and my girlfriend at the time, I got in a fight with her over the phone, and I got so mad about it. Like, we hung up on each other, and I just took the phone, and I threw it down in the passenger seat. So I'm all angry, and I'm, like, right next to campus. And I pull up to a left turn lane, and there's a light for it. So, like, a green arrow will go on, and then you can turn left, right? This green arrow turns on, and immediately I hear a honk. And I'm like, oh my God, why does this person behind me like give me no time? Like it literally just turned. So I pull up, and this is very embarrassing, but I was only like 20 at the time, or 21. So I immediately like stop in the intersection, make the person stop behind me. I start pounding on the top of my roof. And then like they're like gesturing wildly too, because they obviously are probably upset because they have no idea what is going on at the time. So they pull up, and I'm like, man, this person, and like they were like kind of like making all sorts of things in the background or whatever because they're upset. So then I pull over into a parking lot, and I'm like, I was like, I'm ready to go with this person. And the person like looks at me, sees me pull over and get out of my car, and just looks at me and gives me like this weird look and then drives off. And I was like, whatever. I go to work that day, and one of my friends comes up. My friend Kelly comes up to me and was like, hey, I saw you in the intersection, honked at you, but I don't think you heard me. And I was like, Dan, you are an idiot.
Yeah.
And I was like, that poor person. So if that person is out there, I am so sorry about 20-year-old Dan, who is an idiot. But like that's like what I'm talking. That's like what we're talking about. Like it's just stupid.
Because if you're gonna die on a hill, you're still dead.
You're still dead.
You're only dead, and it doesn't matter.
100%. Let's see what else is in this mailbag.
Billy, I hope we answered your question.
Yeah, and Billy, I'm sorry. This thing's gotten stacked with all this mail. So
yeah, I mean, look at this. This is just, intern Seth was over there. He's like buried under the mailbags.
I know.
And this, I just grabbed the first bag off the top. So. Okay, so this one's from Uncle Mike in Freehold, New Jersey.
Uncle Mike
from Freehold, New Jersey.
That's not you, though, Mikey.
Okay, Uncle Mike, I hope you're listening to this one. Dan, would you rather be lucky or good?
Oh, that is a good question. So this is a selfish answer. So this is a dumb answer, too, right? I would rather be good.
Okay.
Mostly for just notoriety, and people be like, oh, Dan is skilled at this, and this. Where there's plenty of arguments to be lucky, probably more arguments to be lucky.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't want to be known as lucky. I'd rather be known as good.
Lucky Dan.
Lucky Dan.
Okay.
Okay. I'd rather it be like, oh, Dan is so good at X, Y, and Z, or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
So, like, conversely, I'd rather be lucky than good.
Which is probably much smarter.
I don't know about that. I'm not the smartest guy in the room by any stretch, but
I mean, there's a low bar in here today, but
yeah, and I'm underneath it. Okay. So,
no.
No, I'd rather.
And above us all is Mikey over there.
Yeah.
Producer Mike.
Producer Mike. He's the genius of the
He
crew.
is the genius.
The brains of the operation.
That's it right there.
So I would rather be lucky than good, right? Because, I've seen plenty of guys in my life that were good, but they didn't make it. They weren't successful, right? But by whatever you want to measure that, right? But they're really good. They're really smart. They're hardworking. They produce excellent results, but they failed, and I don't know why they failed, right? Like, but it wasn't because they were good. And maybe it was because they weren't lucky. But I've seen a lot of people that had nothing going for them, and they won big time, right? Because they were lucky.
Well, I have a couple questions about this. All right, so let's go to the person that was very good, had all these things going for them, but then just wasn't successful.
Yeah.
So then you start to think about like more of how the world and life works, and it becomes more of like some like existential questions, where it's like, well, if there's somebody maneuvering us in some way, then maybe it's because this person wasn't doing the things that they're actually, like maybe they're skillful at whatever they're doing, but that's not like what they're most skillful at and how they could be helping society more. So it'd be interesting where they are now. Or maybe there's some stuff that they were doing in the background that was not so great, and so maybe it's more karmic as well, right? And then maybe the person that didn't do whatever well, they won big or seemingly won big, but maybe in the background some bad things were happening to them. You see what I'm saying? Like there's a balance to everything, and we only know part of the story. So it just depends on what your definition of luck would be.
That's a good one.
I feel better about my answer.
Yeah, right?
I talked myself into it.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, right?
I guess so.
So, yeah, I have friends out there that say they don't believe in luck.
Right.
But, I've had too many weird circumstances in my life to say, that doesn't happen. I mean, okay, maybe luck is just chance or good fortune, right? Like I had the amazing good fortune to meet my wife, Agent B.
Agent B.
And like to convince her to marry me. I don't know how that happened, but she has made excellent like real estate decisions, and she is an excellent mother and parent. She's an excellent spouse. She knows how to manage money. She knows how to like make friends. She knows how to like influence people. It's incredible, right?
She's very popular in here.
And I wouldn't say that happened because I was good, right? I'd say it was incredible good fortune. Now, some people might say, "Oh, you're not giving yourself enough credit," but man, that like having Agent B in my life, that's supernatural.
Well, you would say, could we say, based on this conversation, that Agent B makes some really good decisions?
Fortune smiles on Agent B. She makes excellent decisions.
And she's very intelligent.
Extremely.
So then it would be tough to say that the person that she chose to be her husband that was all luck.
Yeah, but I mean, when she met me, I had nothing going for me.
But maybe she saw the potential.
Yeah, but I don't know how, man. I mean, literally, I was a bum.
She looked at you and she was like, "This guy is going to be on a very successful podcast in however many years."
Okay. So you'd rather be good than lucky, and I think you've almost convinced me. All right, Dan, this one, wow, Grandma Louie from Pasadena.
Oh, Grammy
Louie from Pasadena. Ask the question. This is a hell of a question.
All right.
I don't know the answer to this one, but it might have something to do with good and luck. Okay.
Ooh.
How are you still alive? All right. Okay. Everybody in the room is like busting up. Anybody that knows Dan, they're like, that's a heck of a question.
That is a heck of a question. Well, that goes completely against my other answer, because I would like to say it is just luck. So maybe it is better that I'm lucky than good, because I can't say it's by any skill. One argument I always have with you is that I actually cannot die.
Uh-huh.
So it doesn't have anything to do with either luck or skill. It's just impossible because I have never died. So it's hard to imagine that I could die logically.
Okay. I don't know. You know what, Dan? I am not going to die on that hill. Okay, not today.
I don't think I am
I don't
either.
agree with you.
Because I can't.
I don't agree with you, but, my son, my youngest son, Spencer, he asked me this question also once. And, it was after he had known me for quite some time.
I think that's a fair one to ask you as well, for sure.
So here's the context of the question, right? We're out taking a spring break in Colorado, and we're standing in Boulder, Colorado, and we're looking out at the horizon at the Rocky Mountains, and it's as far as the eye can see. It's white peaks, right? Snow-capped peaks.
Probably beautiful.
It's gorgeous,
Yeah.
right? And my son says, "Have you ever climbed any of those mountains?" I said, "Yeah, every single one of them." Right, and that's a fact, right? That's
awesome.
Yeah, I've climbed from that viewpoint. I had climbed every peak that you could see. That was one of the things I did, right?
Right.
I worked on a farm, and I sawed with a chainsaw, like thousands of hours of lumberjack work, right? I almost cut my leg off with a chainsaw once, right? I've been hit by tractors and run over by farm equipment. I've had like haystacks collapse on me. I've been kicked by animals.
Jeez.
I've been held up at gunpoint a couple of times. I was in the Army, like jumping out of
Sounds like
helicopters.
it's a better question for you.
And I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer because there's a lot of people. Like I'm getting to the age where people I know are starting to fall off, right? They're starting to die.
You mentioned that the other day.
And I don't know why I am, right? There's so many near misses in my life.
Well,
it's so many bad decisions. And maybe that goes back to lucky versus good. Maybe that goes back to
And you know what I would say?
Yeah.
I would say that you're just that good. You're just that good, Alex. Which was why you're the man.
Yeah, but I don't feel good, Like I feel lucky. Like maybe I'm underselling myself. I don't know. But it's crazy how many near misses I had. How many situations I should have absolutely been wrecked.
Well, if we did break it down to science, right? And if we were looking at any kind of problem that way, and we were like, oh, this has happened over and over and over again, we would not call that coincidence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even though
Agreed.
in the moment, and if you just do it in a vacuum story by story, you are like, oh, wow, I was lucky. Oh, wow, I was lucky. At some point, can't we say Alex is just that good?
I would never say that about myself.
I know you would.
I'll let you say
That's
it.
why I say it, Mikey. That's why I say it.
But Dan, like we started off the podcast by saying, you will die on the hill of usefulness, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And maybe that's it. Maybe I don't know if you believe in the supernatural or fate or destiny. I don't know. I'm not sure that I was put on this earth for a purpose. If it is, I don't know what that purpose is. But
probably to win.
well. Maybe, I don't know.
To win and win hard.
I was put on this earth to podcast.
That's it.
But, like maybe somewhere out there, like it will be revealed to me. And that's why I've been kept alive, long enough to like live out my purpose. I'm not sure. But I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer about how I'm still alive because, man, but you did bring up a good point. If you see things happening over and over and over again, you say, well, why is that, right? There's some sort of causative agent at work on this one.
Right.
And maybe I'm at least smart enough to not make the same mistakes twice. And I have told so many people.
There's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, like I've done like career mentoring with kids and talked to them about what it takes to succeed and like how to win and all this stuff. And one of the things I always tell them is everything that I've done good in my life, all the success that I've had is built on a mountain of failure. So I've basically figured out I've gotten all the fail out of my system. I think at this point, right?
I can't say that for me.
You give it another 20 years, Dan. You got at least 20 more years of failure ahead of you. Okay,
I
something to look forward to.
Hell yeah!
But every time you fail, right? That's done. You've failed. You've learned a new way not to win, right? And you don't do that. You don't repeat that again, right? So now I think I'm talking myself into the idea. I'd rather be good than lucky, right? Because
we've come full circle. Dan is right.
Yeah, okay,
about
for the
this
moment, right? But maybe we'll go full circle and you'll decide that luck actually works in your life. But yeah, I think I've gotten a lot. Maybe not all of it, but I've gotten a lot of fail out of my system, right? And you don't go back and redo those things. You're like, oh, if I do that, I will fail. I've been there. I've gone that way, and I know what happens, right? So I don't know.
So in short, Dan has not died yet, and neither have Alex, because Grandma Louie, we're just that good.
Have we answered Grandma Louie's question?
I think we did.
Yeah. Let's see here. Here's another. Oh, Liz the Genius.
Oh, Liz the Genius.
Liz the Genius from Fairbanks, Alaska. Okay, Liz, I hope you're listening in on this one. Dan, what makes it a good day? What makes a good day?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think it kind of comes down, I think it's a combination of things, right? Maybe, like what we talked about before, you have some kind of discomfort in the day that you get over fairly early, right? Because then you get that you get that relative status,
right?
So then you were uncomfortable, and then you can start working towards being comfortable and doing some things that you enjoy. You do something. I feel like you got to do something active. You got to move around. The human body was meant to move. You got to move, right? And whether that's your uncomfortable part of the day or whatever it is, at some point you have to move because you'll always feel better when you do that. I would also say that you do something that benefits somebody else or society as a whole, and usually has to do with your purpose, right? Because then you feel useful, you feel involved in whatever. And then maybe you do some kind of something that's one of your hobbies that you enjoy, hang out with somebody that you really enjoy their time, whatever. And I think if you do those things, you've already had a good day.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Anything else is just extra.
Yeah. So I was out there, working the circuit back when I was in my profession.
Working the circuit.
I was
surviving.
Yeah. Thriving and surviving.
That's
Styling and profiling.
That's it.
And I loved going out to the production floor and meeting people that were actually doing the work, right? So I'd get down in the trenches with them, and I'd spend time in the production floor. And I
I
hated
could see you doing this. I could have an image in my head.
Yeah,
actually.
I hated being in the office, right? And I would travel to a site. Let's say I'd go to Germany, and they would have all these PowerPoints and spreadsheets, and they'd want to sit in a conference room with me and tell me how great they were, and tell me, just blow smoke, right? And it got to the point where when I would arrive at a site, I wouldn't even go to the office. I would go straight to the production floor, right? I wouldn't even announce my arrival. I would just appear out of nowhere, right? And I was walking around talking to somebody, and I said, "How are you doing today? You having a good day?" And they said, "Yeah, so far." And I said, "Okay, great. What makes it a good day for you?" And she said, "A good day is when I don't get yelled at work." And I thought, wow, that's awful.
Yeah.
That's so short-sighted. What is it about this situation that, like, why would somebody yell at you, or what are you doing? Why is your focus so limited? And I got to thinking, like, some people say, oh, it was a great day today because I made $50,000 on the stock market. Or today was a great day because I got a call back from somebody that I've been interested in, and they're paying attention to me now. They noticed, or I got a job offer, or I got good news, right? And that makes a good day. Or I went, I got a PR in the gym, right? But this person's life was so miserable, or so shallow, or something. There was something missing in their life that to them a good day was a day you didn't get yelled at, right? I don't know. I'm pretty simple. For me, a good day is a day I wake up, right?
But according to you, every day is the best day ever.
Right.
Which tomorrow has got to be one hell of a day.
So somebody, I think I've told you the story about Stanley Lewis and, like, choosing to have a good day. Yeah. Okay. So I was having a bad day, right? And
you did tell me this.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'll tell it again for the listeners,
For sure.
or for Liz the genius in Fairbanks, right? I was having what I thought was a bad day, and I'm walking across the loading dock, and this guy Stanley Lewis, he's always had a perpetual smile on his face, super upbeat guy, and he says, "Why the long face, Alex? I'm having a bad day. How about you, Stanley? You look like you're having another good day." He says, "I only do good days," right? And so I asked him, "What do you mean by that?" And he says, "Well, nobody in the world is so important that they have the authority to tell me how I should be feeling, right? How I feel is my choice. And if I have a choice, I'm going to choose to feel happy, right? Okay. And that day, I decided I'm not going to have bad days anymore. And I haven't had a bad day since, like, 2003 when I had that conversation with Stanley Lewis.
Good old Stanley.
Yeah. I just said, I'm not going to, if I get to choose, then I'm going to choose to have a good day.
What did he do?
He drove a forklift. I mean, he was just a wage guy,
That's awesome.
He was. I was about to say he was nobody special. He was clearly somebody extraordinary.
Yeah,
right?
I would say so.
But
you're still talking about him.
Yeah. Stanley Lewis is no longer on the face of the earth, but the memory lives on.
R.I.P.
Right?
Stanley.
Yeah.
The memory lives on.
And so since then, taking Stanley's cue, I don't have bad days. I still have a lot of hard days.
Right.
But I don't, I mean, maybe I do have a bad day once in a while, but I recognize it, and I say to myself, okay, fix that attitude, right? Get out of the self-pity, fix the attitude, go out there and identify the things that are making this a good day. Like, you got to wake up, right? That's a good day, right? You get to be on Earth again.
That's kind of important.
It's kind of important, right? Like, yeah. So I was talking to some people about this, and yeah, like, my line, it's always, today's the best day ever. And people would say, wow, like, people that didn't know me, they'd say, wow, that's amazing. Like, what happened? How is today the best day ever? And the only answer I can give them is because I decided it would be.
It is kind of interesting, and I look into your psyche when you go, today is the best day ever. Tomorrow's going to even be better.
Yeah.
But then you go and beat the piss out of a Thursday or so. I'm like, well, you just complimented this day, and then you beat the piss out of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess you got to fight your friends sometimes.
Yeah, so, yeah, beat the piss out of the day. That's funny.
That's what you say.
Yeah,
You're
it
like,
is.
Dan, I'm going to beat the piss out of this weekend.
So,
Which is one of my favorite Alex quotes of all time.
and we've got a weekend like literally on the doorstep right now.
We do.
And this weekend, I am going to slay this weekend.
I could see that.
This weekend is already pissing itself in fear. Okay.
I love that.
Now here's another one though. You said a minute ago you've never died, right?
I have not that I know of.
Right. And so let me throw the corollary out there, right?
All right.
I have gone to battle with every single day that has come my way. Every day, and you know, I'm now like at 62 years of perfect attendance on planet Earth. I haven't missed a single day. Okay? Undefeated, right?
You're like the Floyd Mayweather of living.
It's exactly, well, you are too, Dan. You just you don't have as much time in the ring, but so far you are undefeated, right? And every day that I've gone to war with has conceded and fallen by the wayside and never ever to return, right? And hey, man, that's pretty good.
So you would say that each day the Vegas odds are in your favor.
I don't know, man. Luck runs out sometimes, but
being good might not.
But you know what? Here's what I'm gonna predict the future. Okay.
Oh,
okay.
man. All right.
Liz the genius. Are you still with us? Okay. I'm going to predict the future. I'm going to predict that when I finally go down, I will have a lifetime record of only one loss, which is pretty good. Pretty good.
That
record.
is very good.
So right now, like 62 years times 365, I don't know, 180,000 some odd days, right? To zero. That's a huge record, right?
Gosh.
And I wish. Okay, so this is my wish then, Dan.
All
Maybe
right.
I don't have any more. I'm not going to drag any more mail out, but I'm going to ask you a personal question, okay? And it's, what is your wish, okay? And my wish, right, for the world, my wish for the world is that everybody could wake up and say, today will be the best day ever because I said so, right? Okay.
That's a
my
good wish.
Yeah. So Dan, what do you want for Christmas?
I would say I want everybody to feel useful and be supported in that
Nice.
from birth.
Yeah.
And I think everything would be way different.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure would. Man, the world's so full of fight. If we could direct that energy to useful, productive means, right? Because everybody's full of fight, right? Either they're fighting and winning, or they're fighting and losing. But everybody's fighting, right? Everybody's fighting a good fight. I wish we could turn that to useful, right? Like, okay, so I had this conversation with a kid out in.
That would advance a lot of stuff, wouldn't it? Because then you're not as busy like creating. You're not as busy fighting with everybody. Mm-hmm. So then you're advancing whatever else. I mean, at this point, we'd probably be on like 5 or 6 different planets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen eventually.
For sure.
So I had this kid in Philadelphia that was working for me, and she was a super ball of energy, but she was wound up way too tight, right? And she would pick like all the wrong hills to die on. And I said to her, you are like nuclear energy, nuclear power. And she's like, what do you mean by that? And I said, you could.
What a compliment.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, I'll flip it. Dan, you are like nuclear power.
I love it.
Right? And your energy could either light up the world or it could destroy it. And I need you I need you to make the right decision, right? And this is the conversation I was having with this kid in Philadelphia. Like, are you going to choose to light up the world, or are you going to choose to destroy it? And I need to know now, because if you choose to destroy it like you've been doing, I am going to take you out of the game, because I don't want the world destroyed, right? So yeah. Like, and to me, that's like waking up and making it the best day ever, right?
That's true.
Like, turn on the nuclear power plant and do not destroy the world, whatever you do.
Dang. Well, it could be like Batman, where he says, some men just want to watch the world burn.
I know, that's crazy. I don't think I've met that person yet, but I know the line.
I've seen a bunch of people that are like that. Yes.
Man, we got to take them out of the game, Dan.
You're not kidding. I feel like they kind of take themselves out of the game.
Yeah,
though.
they kind of do.
Yeah.
This would be a good time to do some shout-outs.
Okay. Let's see here. Oh, great. So Dan,
Sorry.
we always shout out to Adam. Okay,
Always.
Adam at CNA Auto, and you do it
CNA
better than
Auto.
I do. So why don't you do your shout out to Adam? And I got one teed up.
I actually just got my brakes done by CNA Auto.
Uh-huh.
Perfect job. They were screeching and squealing. I felt like they weren't going to work after a little bit, and I took it right to Adam. I thought I would leave it there for like 3 or 4 days or whatever. I had stuff to do on the weekend, and we were like thinking about traveling. And I was like, well, if we can't use my truck, I don't know if we'll go or whatever. Adam had that turned around in a day.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And they had somebody, like, when I dropped it off, they drove me back here, dropped me off here, and then they had somebody return my truck to me.
Wow.
All fixed. Yeah,
Wow.
perfect. Just the service is amazing at CNA Auto, right across the street from Mad Lab Performance, which obviously everybody knows where we are. Anything that you have going on with your car, truck, whatever, go over there. Tell them that you know Mad Lab, that you listen to the podcast. Ask for Adam, ask for any of the good people there. Miss Kelly will probably help you out too. She's amazing. Just a great place. Everybody should use CNA Auto. Honest mechanics. The price is right. Turnaround time and service is just amazing. Immaculate.
Damn, you are an advocate.
I am. I've brought my truck over there countless times.
That was maybe you need a new truck.
Well, I take it over there for general stuff. You know,
Yeah.
my brakes didn't work, but also I haven't replaced them in 4 years.
Yeah.
Right? It's about time.
Yeah.
Tires, had that done over there. I get my oil changed over there too. So luckily, I've had nothing major with my truck.
So I'm going to give a shout. Okay, so shout out to Adam. We saw Adam here at the turf here at Mad Lab.
He was working hard.
Yesterday.
He always is working hard.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He's a solid citizen.
He really is.
I'd like to give a shout out to Mike over at Okusak Print Communications.
Oh, I still got to get with him. Too.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do
All right,
got to
and
get with
when
him.
you do, you will be happy because Mike at Okusak Print Communications has 40 plus years in the business. He's the sole owner and proprietor. The guy lives customer service, right? And he knows the biz. So if you have stuff you want to get out there, if you want to get the message out, go see Mike at Okusak Print Communications.
And
then,
Mike, I am going to contact you. I haven't forgotten.
And so shout outs are one thing, but I'd like to extend a personal invite to Jocko Willink. Hey, Jocko, we love your message. We love your vibe. We love your go juice, and we want to see you on the podcast with us because we got a lot of questions to ask of you, and we got a lot of answers for any questions you might have. And I know, Jocko, you got questions. All right, buddy? So come on to the podcast
We've
with
got
us.
answers.
We'll leave a light on for you. Dan, anything else?
Yes, here's a hill I'm willing to die on. Orange
Yeah?
is the best color in the spectrum. A lot of people argue with me about this, but I've thought so since 6th grade, and I'm willing to die on that hill.
Wow.
Orange is the color of ruckus. That's what I've said since 6th grade, and I'm still going to die on that hill, and I'm never going to change that.
I don't even know where to go with that one.
That's
I'm not
fair.
going to challenge you. Dan, that is your hill to die on. I love it. Go for it, man.
Fair enough, fair enough.
All right. Hey, Dan, what time is it?
It's time to win, Alex.
Until next time.
Until next
Keep
time.
on winning.
You're the man.
Nah, I'm just some guy.
Thank you, everybody.
Love you.